So today I'm going to give you my ultimate advice for people who feel broke. And we are going to get started in just a second, but first we're going to have an intro. And if you feel like you're broke right now, please post that in the comments while this intro is playing. Welcome back, y'all. I'm Debbie Dobbins. I am the Queen of Magic. And why am I the Queen of Magic? Because I teach women how to create magical lives of magic and magic money. So the thing I want to share about that is if I'm going to help you create a magical life and magic money, then if you feel like you're broke, you probably want to listen to this. The thing is that being broke is just a state of mind. Literally, it is a state of mind. And what I have said more often than I can probably count is that no one has ever gotten out of being broke by concentrating and focusing on being broke. There's no way. It's not going to happen. You're not going to ever get out of wherever you're at, whether you're overweight, you're broke, you're unhappy, you're in a bad relationship, by focusing on that. So the ultimate advice that I give people that are broke, because I've been there. Hello. If you watch this channel, you know that I was on food stamps. Another time I was beyond broke. And that means that I had a mindset in that moment that I was stuck. I was broke. And in those particular instances, it was not any fault of my own. We had an economic meltdown and I had cancer. These things happened. But here's the thing, is if I succumb to the events and believe that my circumstances were the truth of who I was, as opposed to the circumstances are just the circumstances, and I have the power within me to change the environment that I live in, then I would be stuck. But in both instances, because I've shared this story a couple of times and you may have seen it on this channel, I was so stuck in those particular moments when that happened for a brief period of time. I sat there and went, oh my gosh, how did this happen to me? But after I said that, then I decided and I knew that the principles that I teach were going to get me through it. And I started with nothing in both circumstances. Absolutely nothing. So what did I do? In both of those cases, and this is what I recommend for you, is that you take a very clear look at where you are. And I think that's probably the most challenging thing for anybody that's in a position where they feel like they've got themselves into a difficult situation. I often say this, and I don't know why it's so key to me, that being overweight and being broke or in debt is very much the same thing. One of the things that we have to do is look at where we are. We have to start where we are. We can't pretend that we are not in a particular circumstance. The reality that we live in, if we push back against it, Byron Katie says, we argue with reality, it gets us nowhere. Nowhere. So I can't argue with the fact that I'm broke. I can acknowledge that I'm broke. And then I say, what would I like to do next? Would I like to stay being broke? Would I like to wallow in being broke? Would I like to complain or gripe or fret about the fact that I am broke? Or would I like to believe that I can change this? Because that's number one, is you have to believe that you have the ability to create whatever you want in your life. Especially if you're a woman. You have the creative energy already by virtue of the fact you have feminine energy. So you can create anything. And the only thing that you can do is begin to say, I am creating wealth. If you keep saying I'm broke, you're going to stay broke. If you start to say I'm creating wealth right here and right now, it will start to show up. You can watch my video on my morning routine, because what happens when you begin to shift how you're living your life every single day, things begin to magically happen. it'll begin to give you some insight as to how you're not living that experience. Because let me guess, when you wake up in the morning, if you're broke, what's the first thing you think about? Being broke, right? How much you don't have, what you can't do. How am I going to deal with this? Who's the creditor that's going to call? Who's going to be the person that's going to drive me crazy today? How do I feed the kids? How do I? All of those thoughts are perpetuating what that experience is that you see. Because we are the sum of all our previous thoughts and beliefs. The minute before this. So if you want something different going forward, you have to change your thoughts and your beliefs and your emotions. It's really simple, maybe not so easy. So I would recommend that you watch that video. How do you get from being broke to feeling like you're going to experience wealth? Those are pretty far apart. You start with little tiny baby steps. I've been saying this saying for I don't even know how many decades. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. The very first thing you have to do is, if you're broke, is look at where you are, put it down on a piece of paper. I think I've shared this many times. This was my little piece of paper when I was broke. I wrote down everything that was going out, and I wrote down everything that was coming in. It didn't matter how little it was written down, just like a food diary if you're losing weight. And if you begin to look at that, and then you see you have a deficit in one column, meaning the money coming in isn't covering the money going out, then you have to look at how you can adjust the money going out. It isn't hard, but you have to begin to be aware of what's going on. And that's really challenging for people, I guarantee you. Because we'd rather put our head in the sand and not acknowledge it than see the reality of what is happening right here and right now. But once you know where you're at and you begin to have a plan of action, then you can begin to envision what that plan of action will look like, how it will look when you are living that magical life. Because we have to begin to feel it in our body. And if you're paying attention to all of the things you feel are going wrong, how broke you are, how many people are coming after you, what do I have to pay, I can't eat. I mean, there's no end to the conversation that goes on in your head. And that's one of the biggest problems is that we all have as human beings, is we have this voice in our heads that's not the truth of who we are. We are the observer. So even if the very first thing that you do, besides starting your mornings off with a magical thought, is throughout the day begin to be the observer and watch the thoughts that are going through your head. What thoughts are absolutely disempowering to you right now? Those thoughts that are focusing on all the I don't haves are going to create more of the I don't haves. I know this is a really simple technique, yet it is so powerful and so hard when you're in the middle of it. I don't not appreciate that because you are where I have been. I know that. I also know the power of these principles. So even if you change one thought, one little itty bitty thought from I can't pay X, Y, or Z to I now know that if I do this with all of these things that are going out, maybe you have one latte instead of 5 lattes. I don't know what your circumstances are. You can look at them and know right away, what is it over here that's really not empowering my life that I could take and cause more empowerment over here? So there's a great download in the body of this video. I would love to share that with you for free so that you can begin this journey by saying yes to yourself, by being empowered, by being magical. Everything you think from here on out is creating the life that you do or do not want. So as I say, stay magical, and y'all come back now. Bye-bye.